In the Atacama Desert of Chile, you'll find an endemic genus of cactus called Copiapoa, which consists of approximately 32 morphologically distinct species. The Cineraria complex houses its most well-known and sought-after species, and they are all heavily poached and trafficked throughout the United States, Europe, and Asian countries as well. And one of the reasons the habitat plants are so desirable is due to their ashy white appearance in nature, whereas in cultivation, they more often than not lack that chalky, rugged appearance. While it remains essentially impossible to mimic the true habitat growth in a greenhouse, today's guest on the show has gotten as close as possible in my opinion. His name is Ben Grillo, or Backyard92057 as he's known on Instagram. He's an incredibly talented tattooer and cactus collector based out of Oceanside, California, which sits on California's southern coast in a climate not dissimilar from the home of the Copiapoa. And his plants look better than any ones I know, and I've wanted to pick his brain about his approach to caring for them for some time. If you're already growing Copiapoa, then I hope you'll find this episode informative and useful on your quest. If you're new to the genus, then I hope you'll be inspired to buy some seeds and grow some for yourself. I'm really excited to share this with you all, and without wasting any more time yammering on, let's hop into it. So here we go.
It is.
I'm pretty stoked to come in here, man.
Yeah, glad to have you.
Oh yeah. So the collection, this collection has been building for how long? Because you said you've been here for 4. I'm drawing a blank on how long you said you've been into the plants in total.
So it's almost 10 years.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
So.
Was it Copiapoa like from the get-go?
No.
No.
It was like very, the common, all the common stuff. And then, I mean, pretty quickly though, I discovered, because that's how I am. I'll just research everything and get on the internet, look at books, read about stuff. And, then once you see these, it's like, okay, game over. What the fuck is that?
Yeah.
I need to get one of these. And they've always been kind of difficult to obtain. Yeah. But not like, I mean, they're pretty easy to get now. They're just so expensive.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah. That's basically it. So it's it can be a little cost prohibitive for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So now, one of the things that, you hear a lot on the internet and from people, you will hear a lot of different types of suggestions and methodologies and how to care for them. And the first time I actually bought a Copiapoa, the person told me that he misted them twice a year. And I was like, really? Are you serious? I didn't do that. I've kind of watered mine for the most part up until maybe about 6 months ago or a year ago. This growing season, I sort of switched things up. But for the most part, I have just sort of watered them like everything else.
Yeah.
And they seem to have been fine. However, over that time, watching you, I think I've even watched you get certain plants that weren't so white, and then you were able to get them over the course of like, a year or two.
They were as green as this one here, and now they're just full on. I mean, the new growth is definitely.
And so, what's your secret? What do you do? How?
So the way I've always liked the habitat look, I mean, there's several ways to grow your plants, and there's nothing wrong with growing them in a greenhouse and making them look real pretty. Mine are definitely more of the rougher looking habitat style, which is what I like. So the first time I saw these plants from Blondo, I think I saw an advertisement on his website, and I went to his website and saw them, and I was like, whoa, what the fuck? It's like, there's no way. I was like, these are seed grown. And I was reading, and I mean, the dude goes to the Atacama Desert, collects seeds, catalogs it, brings it back to Sicily, and then has this method of growing them to where they look like this. So I bought plants from him, and I asked him subtly, not too many questions, because I don't know, some people have their secrets.
Sure.
And you don't want to like bombard them with, you know, hey, tell me what you do.
Right.
So I asked him, and he was kind enough to share information from time to time. And then I kind of did my own research and just trial and error and, you know, just testing different things out and seeing what happened to where I got a soil mix that I was very happy with. And one thing I would recommend people, if they haven't read it, is that Stone Eaters article, which I'm sure you've probably...
I'll link it in the description of the
yeah.
video. Yeah.
That is like a gold mine of information if you want to grow stuff. And it's good to know, like it shows like comparisons of, you know, growing things hard and natural as opposed to stuff with like more organic soil. And so I made a recipe of, and I'm totally like cool with like giving that out to anybody.
But generally, we can actually, if you want to give it an exact breakdown, I'm happy to include that too, if people want to try it specifically. But what is it basically?
So I do 4 parts pumice, 4 parts DG, and I'll sift maybe like 2 of them, you know, get the fine stuff out and then leave the fines on the other 2.
I'm going to just interject one thing. Make sure, if you're buying DG, you make sure that it is not stabilized DG.
Oh yeah.
Make sure, because it will lock up. That's not for plants.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And also don't buy it from Home Depot. It sucks. You can get it at like landscape, like stores, rock stores. I'm sure it's like harder to find in certain places. But anyway, it's 4 parts pumice, 4 parts DG, 1 part vermiculite, 1 part akadama. Sometimes I'll put a little more, like 2 part akadama, 1 part lava. I'll usually get like the dirt from my yard, just like 1 part dirt. And then there is this stuff called John and Bob's Maximize. And this is like totally optional, but I put it in there, just 1 part.
And what is it?
It's like this fine, and that stuff is organic, but there's very little of it going in. It's just to hold, you know,
So kind of like a organic, just some kind of a compost organic matter.
Just to hold stuff in there a little longer, because I don't water things that much.
Right.
And so I want it to, I actually don't want the water to flow right through super fast. I mean, it'll dry out pretty quick.
Makes sense.
But I don't want it flowing right through and then it's gone because I don't water.
Yeah, you want to give the plants more of an opportunity to
soak
capture
it in.
And so one of the things that I have found, you know, there's so many different ways to grow these plants, and, you know, being fortunate to have traveled around and looked at so many different collections, so many different ways of doing it. I think that your location certainly gives you a really interesting kind of ability to do things here that you can't do other places. But it's also very fascinating to me in just the fact that we're in Southern California. I know for sure it's 10A or 10B, it's one of the two, so you could look at the map and see that. But we're in, oh geez, wow, what month are we in now here? September, right? So we're mid-September. It's about 68, 70 degrees outside. It's 11 noon, somewhere in the, you know, morning, beginning of the afternoon. Light drizzle. And these plants, if I'm not mistaken, have been under shade cloth and exposed to the winter rains here
since I've had them.
Since you've had them.
Yeah, they were very briefly in like a actual like enclosed greenhouse. That was probably 7 years ago, and then I moved them out because of part of the whole research of how I wanted them to grow. I'm like, fuck that, I'm gonna make this. And I made this little thing where it just had like the shade cloth going over them. But then I obtained too many, and then there's a overflow. And
definitely.
Yeah. When I moved here, they were on that turf over there, just sitting on the ground on these flats just with shade cloth laid over them
Yeah.
for like, 3 years.
Amazing.
And the water that they were getting was just rainwater, and that was it. I may have only watered them twice the whole time that I've been here. But
up to date?
no, since I moved to this house.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So then touching on that, so we got the soil mixed down, essentially super, super gritty with a lot of different types of grit in it.
I'll take this out so you can kind of see, because it needs to get repotted anyway.
Now, in terms of watering, do you fertilize it all?
I have started to just this year. But before, no, like the last 3 years, no. So at the bottom, there's like a bunch of lava rock for the drainage, but you can kind of see.
Yeah. So it's super gritty. What was the John and Bob's? Is that what you said?
Yeah. And there, I don't even know if this had that John and Bob's in this, but I mean, you can see it's dense. Because when I first started, I didn't have, it was all very granular, and so there was a lot of air and water would go through too quick. So I wanted something that would fill in those spaces a little more. So that's why I leave some of the smaller parts of the DG.
Right.
And I put like the natural dirt
Sure.
in there also.
You also, by the way, if you're using natural dirt from wherever you live, you want to kind of check and see what your natural
yeah, you don't want
dirt is.
crazy clay.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like
So
weird shit
Southern
like that.
Southern California does have a lot of really great soil, but there's also a lot of areas that are super clay rich, and that's not, the plants aren't going to love that.
Yeah, no good.
So okay, and then so they get a pretty substantial amount of winter watering.
Yes, like fall, late winter, spring watering, they'll get that. I try never to water them in the summer. That's why when this hurricane that came through,
Yeah.
it's like, man, do I cover them? And I just opted to I'm gonna let them get rain once, because it wasn't terribly hot, but it was warm enough where I was kind of worried. But,
So the watering for the plants here it's heavy on the winter water, and for the Copiapoas at least, you're restricting the summer water.
So that's one way to get the this look.
Right.
Obtain this look is
get the
to
farina.
stress them out. They get winter stress and they get summer stress. The heat, the lack of watering in the summer. It's fine to mist them, come through and mist them at night.
Sure.
Or early in the morning. Totally fine. But fall, start out with a little, and that was one thing that was kind of hard, because I was letting them just get rain. Is if it rained multiple days, I would have to cover them up with something.
Right.
So with this thing that I have them in now, I have to me and Lou are trying to come up with a solution to where I can put this woven cloth that's solid, and we might replace this shade cloth on the top with that, and then just put panels of that framed in and drill them to the sides just up to here, so that the bottom has free flowing air.
Right.
So that I don't have to worry about that. But then I'm gonna have to start watering sometimes.
Now, as that has gone, I mean, I'm looking at this flat here, and so this is a much more diverse flat. You've got turbs, you've got, kind of cryptic mammillarias, you've got Aztekiums. Now, I mean, me personally, I would be really worried about those getting wet for a month from now, basically. I mean, as we start to get into the colder season. So have you had, and I'll share an experience afterwards, but I had an experience this last winter where a bunch of stuff did get wet and it was okay. But are these getting rained on in the winter too?
They were, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that was getting rained on. It was all kind of the same. Yeah, I mean, there was definitely the pachypodiums and stuff like that I would cover.
Sure.
But but for the cacti, I pretty much let everything, which is probably not the smartest thing to do, but at the time it was so less organized that it was hard to go through and like, okay, this I'm gonna cover and that I'm gonna leave out.
Yeah.
And now it's, I have this thing built, so that's gonna change. I'm gonna, you know, there's things that in the summer I actually do water in here, whereas before I didn't.
So you let these guys get all the winter rain, kind of jumping back to the pose now for a second. In the summer, do you give any supplemental water at all? Or you just restrict it completely?
Pretty much restricted. Like I said, I'll mist them.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll mist them.
And are you kind of like looking at temperatures and kind of saying, oh, it's cooler, I'm gonna mist them now, as opposed to hotter?
I mean, even if it's hot, the mist isn't gonna penetrate the roots, really. It's just gonna be on the body and maybe the surface of the soil, and then it'll just be gone. But I've never had any issues. But a lot of the stuff that I do only works for this climate.
Right.
You know, if someone's in Central California, Northern California, Midwest, Florida, whatever, what I do is probably not gonna work the same.
Yeah, it's not a cookie cutter way of doing it, but what it certainly will do is it can give you some ideas about ways that you can look at your particular climate, your growing conditions, and because all those things factor in. There's no perfect soil for anybody. There's no perfect watering schedule for anybody. None of that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It's a case-by-case basis, but you can take information from the way that Ben's doing it here, and you can see, oh, well, actually, I could implement that into the way I do it.
Exactly.
And you can get creative and find out something new.
That's one thing I would encourage people to do, is experiment with things.
The lichen, dude.
Oh yeah, there's
That's
a bunch that
so cool. Talk about the
of
habitat look.
Yeah, this guy's got a bunch of that crusty.
And you know, it's interesting too, because like you'd hear a lot that you can't really get poas to look like they do in habitat. And that's not exactly how they're gonna look, but man, this is as close, in my opinion, this is as close as you can get them to look in cultivation.
Yeah.
It's just some of the way that the plants will actually form, the morphology, just from decades of torture, you can't mimic that, but the farina and the glaucum on them is spectacular.
Yeah, a lot of this stuff came from Ignazio in Sicily, and I mean, all his plants are like that, and so a lot of them, you know, I get them and they're already looking pretty bitchin'.